Good afternoon. My name is Clint, and this is Yin Yoga. Today, you're going to need 2 blocks. Maybe it's better if I use these blue ones so that you can see. It's kind of murky here today, but 2 blocks and a towel, maybe a blanket, or if you have a bolster could be good too. At the end of class, I'm going to have you do a 2-block shavasana. So you're going to want to put the blocks the medium height, that's the 4 or the 6-inch high, and then just spread your towel across. And you're going to be laying down on that with the block in between your shoulder blades. So it will be something like this. And you'll probably have to bend your knees. But what this does, and by putting your feet out to the side, you won't tip over. Otherwise, it's a little bit tippy. And then your arms are going to just come out. And then you're going to let gravity just draw them down. This will give you a little bit more of a chest opener and shoulder opener than just the normal 2-block shavasana where you're much lower. So that's how we're going to end. And today's class is going to be a shoulders class. I've made some revisions to what I often teach to make it a little bit more mindful. The biggest objection that I've had to the shoulders class has been that it's too hard on the side body. So what I've done is made an option where you don't really have to use a block. You can use a towel, and you can roll that towel up into a ball, or just a couple of layers thick. And we're just about to start. So we're going to start this class in the first pose, which is using a block or just resting on your side, on your right side. And just stretch your right arm out lengthwise on your mat. And then just bend your elbow, and you can put your knees wherever they give you a little bit more stability. And from here, you can begin to feel your shoulder opening. And what I noticed when I first came up with this alternative without using a block was that my hand can go all the way underneath my ribs, and I can feel my scapula. I can feel my shoulder blade because it's drawn down towards the floor. And from here, if you reach back and feel your side of your scapula, then bring your fingers over towards the front and kind of push in, and you can feel a line of muscles. Those muscles are your serratus muscles, those muscles that come down to your front ribs. And those muscles are the ones that move your shoulder forwards and down. Those are the muscles that we're trying to get into. Now, if you can use the block, either the flat way or the 6-inch high, I suggest doing that because you get a little bit more sensation. But if that sensation turns to pain, definitely get rid of the block. But where you want to start this is with the top edge of the block, right in the middle of your armpit. Frontwards and backwards, about equal distance. And then just allow the weight of your head only to be rested by your hand. Just rest your left hand wherever, and then take a deep cleansing breath into your nose and let it all out through your nose. Take another deep cleansing breath into your nose, let it out through your nose, and let your breath come to its own natural rhythm, in and out through your nose. Throughout today's practice, you're going to be using your own natural breath. You won't need the diaphragmatic breathing. But know, if you lose control of your breath, or if your mind becomes busy, you can always deepen your breath and begin again. Those deep cleansing breaths clear your mind, relax your nerves, reduces your heart rate and your blood pressure. And by breathing in and out through your nose, you're calming your body by invoking your parasympathetic nervous system. That nervous system that keeps you calm and cool. You're trying to get into the serratus here. So maybe you can reach under with your right hand and you can feel the tension right around the edge of that block. Those serratus muscles are the ones that hold your scapula close to your back ribs. There's a lot going on there, but if you have an injury, sometimes that scapula will pull away from the ribs, the back ribs, and that will adjust the geometry for your shoulder. And that could cause pain, and it can hurt your efficiency of movement. On your next inhale, lift up just a little bit, and then move that block closer to your elbow so that the vertical side that's closest to your hip comes into the center of your armpit. Now, if this is bothering the front side of your body, you can always rock a little bit to the back. What you're trying to do is influence those muscles that help stabilize your shoulders. Get them to respond a little bit more quickly. They're fairly small muscles, but they're quite strong. So this is just teasing them into being aware of what you're doing with your shoulders today. Feel your side body as it drops towards the floor. And then begin to deepen your breath. And then on your next inhale, lift up again, remove the block, come back down all the way down onto your back, and come into Shavasana. Now in Shavasana, your legs can be bent or they can be straight. Your arms can be down by your side or out to the side. Whatever works best for you at this moment. Begin to deepen your breath. Your next next pose is going to be banana, a left banana. So straighten out your legs, pushing to your heels towards the front of your mat. Bring your arms up towards the ceiling and then down onto the mat beyond your head. Push your heels and your palms away, your fingers and your toes, and then pause. From here, walk your shoulders and your head off to the left side of your mat. You don't have to go very far. You're just beginning to get a stretch. Your hips can't move, they are super glued to your mat. And from here, begin to walk your feet over to the left side of your mat so that from above you look like a boomerang or a banana. Make sure that that right hip stays down. Maybe wiggle your hips a little bit to see if your sacrum is firmly attached to the mat. If one arm doesn't come all the way down to the mat, like mine, grab a block and use the block somewhere over your head so that you can just rest that arm, so that you're not pulling on the muscles of your arm, rather you're opening up your shoulder. This is a side bend. You should be feeling this in your side body, in your right IT band, and throughout your shoulders. If that's not working for you and you want some more, a little bit more intensity, you can always lift that right foot up and cross it over the top of your left ankle, and then set it down again. Try straightening out those legs, and then relax those legs. Maybe in order to move your organs down below your rib cage, you breathe into your diaphragm. That adjusts their locations so that they can be more comfortable. And this pose is more tolerable. Feel this stretch across your pecs in front. You can probably feel this in the right part of your chest. Maybe you can feel the pull all the way from your right hip up to your right shoulder. From your right shoulder through your triceps in your forearm, all the way down to your right hand. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, uncross your legs and bring your legs back to center. Scooch your head and shoulders back over to the right, back to center. Bind your hands and bring both hands to your front body. Your shoulders might be sensitive here. Bend your knees and walk your feet up towards your sit bones. And carefully lift one knee up into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze, and then the other. And maybe rock a little bit from left to right. Or making circles with your hips and your knees. And the next time you come to center, pause, then roll all the way over onto your right side and come over onto your belly, facing the front of your mat, and come up into a Sphinx pose. So Sphinx, make sure you have a towel and a block or two. You're starting off in Sphinx, but this is going to be arm shoelace. So put one block in front of you, probably the medium direction, so that your forehead can come down on it. Now with your hands, this is going to be the right-sided arm shoelace. So bend your left elbow, bring your left hand behind your right elbow, then take your right hand towards your left elbow. And then begin to walk your elbows toward each other and maybe behind each other. Your palms should be up. Now, initially this might be really challenging, but know that if you move your chest forward towards the block, it will get more intense. And if you walk your feet back down towards the back of the mat, pulling your shoulders away from the block, that makes this pose a little bit less intense. But from here, even with your arms where they are, lift your shoulders up to your ears and then drop your shoulder blades down your back. That might seem to be impossible, but just wiggle a little bit, and I think you may be able to feel that. You're trying to get your shoulder blades to come down and then out towards the side. And from here, on an exhale, just bow your head forward. Your legs can be anywhere. Breathe into your arms and let gravity slowly draw your chest down. Just let your head go. Your head can roll forward, so you have a little bit of traction on your cervical spine. And if this is too easy, or if this isn't getting into the right part of your shoulder, maybe make an adjustment. And again, just a reminder, you can curl your toes under and push forward to make this a little bit easier. Make that a little more challenging. Or just take your hips back a little bit to make this a little more challenging. But see what works for you. This is getting a great inward rotation on both shoulders. It's drawing your scapulas, your shoulder blades, far apart, increasing your range of motion. At the same time, your collarbones have come together in the front, just below your chin. Because you don't have an extra arm to feel that gap, you can't really tell. But your collarbone has a little bit of a sloppy connection at your sternum, and then a pretty tight connection with your scapula on top of your shoulder. Your collarbone is what gives stability to your shoulder from the front. Breathe into wherever those sensations are. And just when it feels so comfortable that you just want to stay here, that's a little yoga humor. Begin to deepen your breath. To free yourself from this position, roll your shoulders and your chest to one side. Move one elbow, maybe a quarter or half an inch. Go to the other side, the same amount, and keep doing that until you can move your arms out from underneath your chest and find your way onto your back again. Come into Shavasana. And again, your arms can be in whatever position feels best. Maybe it's out in T. Maybe your arms are down by your side. But feel how your body is helping your shoulders recover here. Pumping more oxygen-rich blood into those joints. More water into your fascia. That pose stretched almost every muscle, keeping your shoulders stable. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your arms back down by your side. Bend your knees. Walk your knees up to your sit bones. And then roll onto your left side. And take your right arm up towards the ceiling. Now you can use your left arm as a pillow, or you can use a block. But with that right arm up in the air, turn your hand so that your palm faces behind you and your thumb points towards your feet. From here, bend that elbow and bring the back of your right hand to your back, coming into Gomukhasana arms, cow-faced arms. From here, bend your right knee, put your right foot on the floor behind you to use as a kickstand so that you don't roll back too quickly. Because you don't want to come back on that right arm in this position too quickly. That would be like being arrested by a police officer and having your arm pinned behind you. If you have a friendly police officer, maybe you want to practice this pose with him. But I think not. Now this pose is really intense. So if this is too much, just move your hand down towards your hips.
Have we rolled yet?
Yes, we've rolled over onto our back. And if this isn't enough, you'd like a little bit more sensation, maybe come back, walk that hand up an extra inch or half inch, and test it again. And then just let gravity do its work. Maybe if you can free up your arm, your left arm, you can bring that hand in front of you and feel your shoulder joint. Feel the tension across the front of your shoulder. Maybe feel the front of your humerus and your biceps, or at least the tendons at the top. Run that hand up along the traps, the trapezoidal muscles that tie your shoulder into your spine, into your neck. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bend your right knee, put your right foot down on the mat, over on the right side, and then on an inhale, begin to roll onto your left shoulder, freeing up that right hand, and just draw that hand to your hip and just let that hand rest. Allow your both knees to bend. And maybe you can feel, again, the blood rushing back into that arm. Down your forearm, into your hand. And then when you're ready, just roll back onto your back into Shavasana. Bring your arms out. Again, however far feels good to you. Your knees can be bent or straight. Your legs can be in butterfly, or your knees can be together in a psoas release. But all the action is happening in your arms and your shoulders. Notice if your right arm feels different from your left. Maybe there's a temperature difference between the two arms. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, open your eyes, bend your knees, walk your feet up to your sit bones. Very slowly reach your hands towards your knees. Just grab onto your knees, then let your knees draw your hands away. So you get a little bit of tension in your shoulders here. And from here, maybe rock from hip to shoulder on each side while you're stretching your shoulders. And then from here, roll on to whichever side you feel better doing, and come back over onto your left side. Have your block or your towel available. We're coming back into this blocking of the armpit, or just a towel roll underneath the side of your chest. And on this side, maybe you can reach back and feel your scapula here. There might be a difference. I know there is in my body. If you want to use the block underneath your armpit, the first stage is having it the top of the block, the one closest to your elbow, is underneath your armpit. And then just rest right back in it. Maybe you want to rock a little bit forwards and backwards and find the least awful position. I've done this pose so many times that I forget how challenging it was the very first time. Begin to deepen your breath. And on your next inhale, lift up just a couple inches. Move that block about 4 inches closer to your elbow so that the bottom of the block is at the center of your armpit. And again, your armpit is taking all of the weight. The only weight that your hand is holding up is your head. That 14-pound wonder. Your legs can be in any position, just keeping you comfortably in this pose. You can feel a little bit of a side bend here. But can you feel what's going on with your serratus, your side body? And then when you're ready, inhale, you can remove that block, lower back down, and roll onto your back, bringing your arms out to the side or by your side, whatever works best for you. When your body comes to a comfortable position, it's able to care for you in the most efficient manner. And listening to your body is showing the compassion and empathy that you have. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, open your eyes, bend your knees, walk your feet up towards your sit bones. Pull your knees into your chest and rock a little bit left to right. Round your spine And tuck your chin towards your knees. And then come back down to earth. Release one leg straight ahead. And then the other leg straight ahead. Bring both arms up towards the ceiling. And then down on the mat beyond your head. And push your toes and your fingers away from each other. Then your heels and your palms. And then pause there. Coming into banana on the right side, which will stretch your left side. Make sure that your hips don't move. They are sealed to your mat. And then scooch your shoulders and your head off to the right side of your mat. Then walk your feet and your legs over towards the right side of the mat. Your legs are still straight. Your calves are resting on the mat until you get a nice side bend through your left side body. Use a block to support your arms if they don't come all the way down to the mat. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. If you want to intensify this, maybe grab that left wrist and just lengthen that left arm. Make sure you have your left hip firmly on the mat. Maybe you want to intensify this a little bit more. Lift your left foot up, cross it over on top of your right ankle, and set it back down. The intensity of banana sometimes is surprising. Sometimes after a minute or two or three, it becomes real challenging. So don't be afraid of backing up, but try breathing through it first. By breathing into and through your nose and out through your nose, you can soften your muscles. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, unbind your legs, walk your feet back to center. Scooch your shoulders back to center. And binding your hands, return your hands to your front body. Slowly bend your knees. Walk your feet up to your sit bones. Draw your knees into your chest. rock from left to right, massaging your lower spine. And then the next time you come over towards the right side, come all the way over onto your belly and come into Sphinx pose, where you'll be getting ready for another arm shoelace. So get your elbows below your shoulders, your palms flat. Take a block, put it at a good distance so that your head can come down. And this time, bend your right hand, bringing your right hand behind your left elbow. And then bend your left elbow so your left hand is in front of your right elbow. Left hand is in front of your right elbow. And then begin to walk your elbows towards the center. Your palms should be up. And again, from here, shrug your shoulders up and then try to sink them down. And then begin to soften. Your legs can be out wide if that makes it easier for you. But notice which muscles of your chest, your shoulders, and your back are being asked to stretch. Many of these muscles only work together, so to isolate one at a time is really challenging. But you may be able to feel the muscles that are pulling on your shoulder blades, pulling outward. And those muscles are normally attached to your spine. Those are the stabilizing muscles. They're attached to your ribs. So see if you can detect which muscles are engaged. Let your head just fall forward. If your eyes were open, they're looking straight at the mat. And if you want to intensify this, maybe bring your shoulders forward. You can always take one arm and put it straight out in front of you. That will relieve the tension in the pose. And if anything hurts, just back up. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, lift your head up. And then again, coming out of this, maybe roll to the left a little bit, or to the right, and move your left elbow to the left, and rock the other way. just a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch at a time until you get a little bit more space. Your arms are really sensitive. So when you can, come all the way down. Just take one arm towards the front of your mat and roll over onto your back. And find a position for your arms so that they are getting the most resources from your body. Maybe you can feel your blood coursing through your arteries. Maybe the temperature of your arms are changing. Your knees can be bent or straight. Sometimes these Shavasana interludes are just so captivating you want to stay here, but there's more fun to come. So from here, bend your knees, bring your feet up towards your sit bones, lift your knees up, and grab onto your knees with your hands again. And then let your knees draw your hands away, putting tension from your shoulders to your fingers. And then rock a little bit left to right. And feel what is happening. You're getting more fluid in your joints. And the next time you come to center pause, from here, roll over onto your right side. Bend your knees, coming into almost a fetal position. And then take your left hand up towards the ceiling. Bring your right arm underneath your head like a pillow. And then bend your left elbow, bringing the back of your left hand to the middle of your spine. Bend your left knee and place your left foot on the mat towards the left side as a kickstand. And then you don't have to go the maximum amount. You don't want to get a bind into regular Gomukhasana arms because that would be too intense. But find the right place for your hand as you come back onto your back, trapping that left hand so your palm is down onto the mat. And if that's good for you, stay there. Maybe adjust your hips. Your right arm can go wherever it wants to go. Your knees can be in any position. It could be butterfly, your knees can be together, it can be straight-legged, whatever works. If you'd like to modify this just a tiny bit, lift your head up just an inch, tuck your chin, and let your head come back down. And your shoulder blades will be drawn down to the earth a little bit closer. Notice if your left shoulder has come to terms with this pose. If there's peace. If there isn't, modify. You can reduce the sensation by moving your hand closer to your hips. Or if you need to intensify, roll back over onto your right side. Modify your hand location. And then come back. You might not find the perfect location today, but that's okay. You should be feeling this throughout your upper left chest and back. If that right hand is available to you, maybe try to feel that left shoulder in the top of your left chest. And know that just touching your muscles, you're giving your body the permission to soften. Begin to deepen your breath. Bend your left knee and bring your left foot to the mat on the left side. And then when you're ready, use that leg to move you onto that right side just enough to release that left arm. And then bring that left arm up onto your hip and just pause there. And feel your body and what it's doing to aid your left shoulder, your left arm, and even your wrist and hand. And when the time is right, roll back onto your back. You can bring your arms into end position again, into Shavasana. If you want to do tiny windshield wipers with your knees, that might be comforting to your hips. But your legs are not the focus here. Everything is your upper body. Begin to deepen your breath. Bend your knees, walk your feet up to your sit bones. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. And then bring your knees off to the left. So you're in fetal pose. And then from here, raise your right arm up towards the ceiling. And then bring it down onto the mat, way beyond on the other side of the mat. And pause here for a moment. Your right hand can rest on your left knee. If that left knee is high, maybe urge it to come down. You may feel a little bit of a tug in your glutes or your hip flexors. That's okay. They haven't been doing very much today, so they appreciate your love. We're not going to be holding this pose for a long time. But from here, release any bind you might have. Bring your knees back to center. Give yourself a squeeze. Rock again from left to right. And then bring your arms out into T. And lower your knees off to the right this time. Feel that nice stretch in your left shoulder. And again on this side, you can grab your left knee with your right hand. And then soften your chest, soften your left shoulder, and allow gravity to allow it to descend. Feel the twist here. Feel your pecs, which are other shoulder stabilizers. And then begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your knees back to center. Give yourself a squeeze. Make some big circles on the ceiling with your knees. First one direction. And then the other. And to prepare for the 2-block Shavasana, you'll probably have to come off of the mat or up off the mat to get 2 blocks. And place them the medium height. Lengthwise, so that the blocks will be right along your spine. And you want your head to just barely be at the end of your block. And be careful getting into this. You can use a blanket over the top of your blocks. That gives a little bit more padding than a towel. But then come up onto your feet. Now the bottom block can be down almost to your sacrum. And you'll be a little bit tippy, but once your arms come up and out, just let them fall to the mat and feel the stretch again on your shoulders. Except this time, you may feel it all the way from the tops of your pelvis. Take a deep cleansing breath into your nose and let it out through your nose. Take another cleansing breath in through your nose. Let it all out through your nose. And take rest. And if this two-block Shavasana isn't quite as comfortable as you'd like, you can always turn the blocks flat. I like the extra height that this medium depth block gives.
Can a bolster be used?
Yeah, a bolster or a blanket can be used to raise you up a little bit higher. And if you're on a bolster, maybe your arms don't even come all the way down to the mat, which is fine. But play with where your arms are. Maybe you want to take your arms up more than 90 degrees from your chest, like the beginnings of angel wings. You'll be stretching your lats. Or your arms can be closer to your side body. Find what's meaningful to you. Remember to breathe into any sensations you have. It's just as important in Shavasana as it is in any other pose. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Recall where you are and carefully come down off of your blocks. That may mean that you push yourself up with your hands. You may want to roll over to your side. Whatever works best for you. And then draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Rock a little left to right. Massaging your back. And then come all the way over onto your right side. Pause there for just a moment. And then using this strength in your refreshed shoulders, push the floor away and rise up to a seated position. Thank you for sharing this shoulders class with me today. I am always honored to have you practice your yoga with me, attending to your own body's health and welfare, becoming healthier. Take the compassion and the peace that you practice on your mat and share it with your family, your friends, and those you may meet. Namaste. My name is Clint, and this has been Yin Yoga. You may unmute yourselves if you'd like.